All right. My name is Jack Whiteley, a student taught in the fall of 2014 at Lake Travis High School. A couple of things that I would have to say to y'all as being student teachers. First and foremost, make a connection with your students. Whenever you go into the classroom, you need to first start off with an authoritative figure when you walk in. Be authoritative. When you walk around, you're not there to be their friend. That does not mean that you're not going to communicate with them, and you're not going to have friendly interactions with them, but you are their teacher, you are their superior, you're there to teach them. Do not try to be their friend. They have enough friends. It's very big schools, 200-300 people in each class. You're not there to be their friend, they have enough friends. You're there to be their teacher and their mentor. With that being said, try to make a connection with your students. When you make a connection with your students, you're going to see so much more out of them. They're going to be willing to work harder. They're going to listen. They're going to be prepared. They're going to do so much more for you when you have that connection with them. And by connection, I mean build relationships. With a lot of students that I had a lot of students that were in extracurricular activities. I had ones that were in band, were in athletics, were in theater, and I would try to go as many times as I could to go watch them. If it's me out at a football game and all of a sudden I hear over the intercom that one of my students was the drum major of the week. The next day I saw them, I said, "Hey, congratulations on being the drum major of the week." Or if I had a student that was in the theater arts department, they had a play, I'd go watch them. Next day I said, "Hey, did a great job at that play." Any of those little things, you don't think in your mind that there's really that big of a deal, but that makes a very big impact on these kids. And they really, they start feeling that you care about them. A kid that doesn't feel like you care about them doesn't really want to work hard for you and doesn't really want to learn and for you and doesn't really want to have that drive. If you really capture, that you care about them and you show them that you really want them to be there, want them to learn, want them to be successful, it's going to make a world of difference. And that can kind of roll into classroom management. Again, with having that connection, classroom management is going to go 1,000 times easier. But also, when it comes to classroom management, you need to stay grounded in whatever kind of procedures you have for your lab procedures and your classroom procedures and the policies that you have set forth. You need to stay accurate with those. You need to stay for each student. If they do something wrong, they get the same punishment as the student did prior to that. You don't make any exceptions. Also, make sure that you go and talk to your student teacher or your cooperating teacher right when you get there to understand your limits to what your punishments to students. Whenever you have the class one-on-one, you're the person there that's going to have to make the decisions and make the punishment, fit the crime. So you need to know what your limitations as far as that is. Again, keep a very authoritative figure in the classroom. If you have any kind of start getting one example is I had a lot of students that would get off task and ask me questions that weren't very related to the topic at hand. And you would just simply tell them, that was a great question. Why don't you come back after class or come after school or come during lunch and ask me that question? Because right then and at that time, it's education time. It's not time for just questions from off the wall kind of. One huge thing, be organized. I fell in love with Post-it notes whenever I was a student teacher. I can pick up something and know exactly what it is, where it's supposed to go, if it's not there already. If you're not organized whenever you're a student teacher, you're sure as heck not going to be organized whenever you're a real teacher. And I can promise you this, my cooperating teacher was very good at being organized, and we also had a lot of students that would be out of class for extracurricular activities or doctor's appointments and whatnot, and we had to keep up with what they missed and be able for them to come in the mornings and teach them what they missed and have the quizzes that they needed to take and the tests that they needed to take, and just being organized and having organizational utensils around. I'm like folders, always keep things in folders, filing cabinets, stuff like that. As long as you can keep all of that work together, it's going to make a world of difference. If you can figure out what a kid's missing and get it to them, 30 seconds in the morning, it saves so much time than just trying to dig around and not knowing really where anything is at. One last thing I would just tell you is to have fun. You don't get Dr. West will tell you 1,000 times over, you don't get this chance but once in a lifetime. You're a student teacher. You get to see what you're doing wrong, and it's not going to make that big of an effect. You can, this is your time to practice and kind of, hone your craft. watch your cooperating teacher. They were put to be your cooperating teacher because they are obviously an outstanding teacher within the school. Make sure that you have fun. Every day you're in there, enjoy it. Try to learn something, because next time you step into a classroom, very well going to be your classroom. So learn what you can, and by the time you get out of there, I'm sure that you'll be a very successful teacher as well.